Hi everyone, welcome to Little Diamond Yoga Stories with me, Megan. Little Diamond Yoga Stories is all about learning a new story and doing some yoga poses as we go along. So copy the moves that I do and try to have some fun. Okay, let's start our yoga as we always do by crossing our legs, sitting on our bottoms and bringing our hands to our heart. And after 3 we'll say our yoga hello, namaste. 1, 2, 3. Namaste. Now today's story is set in a woodland where there's lots of trees. So let's start off with our tree pose, standing up with our feet together. Take one foot on top of the other and bring your hands to your heart. And grow, grow, grow your tree, opening your branches. And let's count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bringing down that tree. And then swap your feet over. So take the other one on top this time. And grow, grow, grow your tree on the other side, opening your branches. And let's finish our counting to 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now under one particular tree in the woodland is a badger's set. Now a set is what we call a badger's home. Bring your hands down and keep them at your heart. Take your feet slightly apart and then lift your hands back above your head into our home pose. In this set lives a very kind badger. So let's go into our badger pose. Onto our hands and knees. Try to keep your back nice and straight. Lift up one arm in front of you and lift the opposite leg behind you. Like I said, the badger in our story is very, very kind. Bring that arm and leg down and take up your opposite arm in front of you and your opposite leg behind you. The badger in our story is called Betsy. Bring that arm and leg down. Now Betsy lives on her own. Coming onto your bottoms of your knees in front of you and give them a hug. Sometimes Betsy can feel very lonely. There's one thing Betsy does struggle with. Rubbing your ears from the bottom to the top and back down again. Betsy finds it difficult to hear sometimes. It can sometimes make it a little bit tricky with her friends. One day, Betsy's friend, Sammy the squirrel. Let's go into a squirrel pose. Coming onto your knees, sitting up. Take your hands behind your back and pop them together like you do when your hands are at your heart or behind your back. And then you've got your bushy tail behind you with your feet resting on the floor. And take your head and look up. Betsy's friend, Sammy the squirrel, comes round and says, "Hi Betsy! You want to come and play?" Now Sammy gets very excited when he's talking. And sometimes he talks very, very fast. And sometimes it's a little bit tricky to hear what he's saying. Betsy, coming onto your bottoms, your legs crossed, rubs her ears, rubbing them from the bottom to the top and back down again. She's sure that Sammy Squirrel asked her if she wanted to eat some hay. Betsy doesn't like hay. Let's go into our badger pose. Onto our hands and knees. And lift up one arm and the opposite leg. So Betsy says, no thank you. I'll see you soon. And heads back inside. Well done. Later that day, Betsy's friend, Olivia Owl. Let's do our owl pose on our knees, our hands between our knees. And as we breathe in, we're going to lift ourselves up, open our wings and say twit. As we breathe out, we're going to come back down, saying twoo. Off we go, breathing in, twit. And breathing out, twoo. And again, twit, twoo. And again, twit, twoo. she speaks to Betsy, she turns her head. Take one hand onto the opposite thigh and take your other hand behind your back. And then sit up and look over your shoulder. Hi, Betsy, said Olivia, coming back to the front. And this time put your hand on the other thigh and twist the other way. Would you like to come for tea? Betsy looks at Olivia, coming back onto your bottom with your legs crossed. And again she rubs her ears. She's sure that Olivia asked her if she wanted to go to the sea. Betsy's not a big fan of the sea. Let's go back into our badger pose. Onto your hands and knees. Lift up one arm and the opposite leg. She says, thank you, but no. Thanks for the offer, though. Coming back down onto your knees. Well done. That evening, Hugh Hedgehog comes to see Betsy. Let's go into a hedgehog pose. On your knees, take your head down to the floor. And then lift up your arms behind you to show some spikes. Hugh Hedgehog is a very nervous hedgehog. So as he speaks to Betsy, he hides behind a log. Put your fingers together and pop them in front of your face to show him hiding. Hugh says, hi, Betsy. Do you fancy coming to my house to play some games before we hibernate? Betsy has a think. She doesn't think she's to blame. She doesn't even like eating them. Come onto your bottoms and cross your legs. Rub your ears from the bottom to the top and back down again. Betsy is sure that Hugh said, is she to blame for eating the dates? She doesn't like dates. So Betsy looks at him and says, go back into our badger pose, onto our hands and knees, lift up one arm and the opposite leg. No, not me. Sorry. And she heads back inside, leaving Hugh a little bit confused. All day, another friend of Betsy's, Wendy the woodpecker, standing up and take your legs out wide. Hook your hands behind you, and then we're going to bend forward and tie our hands over our heads like we're hammering into a tree, just like a woodpecker. 1, 2, 3. Well done. Wendy has noticed that Betsy's having some trouble hearing her friends. Wendy thinks her friends need some advice on how best to talk to Betsy. So she decides to hammer some signs up on the trees leading up to Betsy's home. Bring your hands to your heart and lift them above your head into your home pose. Well done. The first sign says, when talking to Betsy, remember. Let's hammer that sign up. Hook your hands behind your back again, and after 3 we're going to hammer the sign up for Wendy. 1, 2, 3. Going forwards and hammer. Well done. The next sign says, speak clearly and don't mumble. Let's hammer that sign up. Hook your hands behind your back again, and after 3 we're going to hammer the sign up for Wendy. 1, 2, 3. Going forwards and hammer. Well done. Now she hammers up another sign. 1, 2, 3. Hammer. Always look at Betsy as you speak. And again. 1, 2, The next day, Sammy, Olivia and Hugh head back to Betsy's set. On their way, they notice these brand new signs. Take out your super spectacles. Speak clearly. Always look at Betsy and make sure she can see your lips. Got it. Betsy opens the door and Sammy speaks. Coming down onto your knees into our squirrel pose. Pop that bushy tail out behind you and put those hands together behind your back. Sammy speaks clearly and says,
"Hi, Betsy. It's nearly time for us to hibernate."
Olivia, coming onto your knees, take your hands between your knees and you're going to breathe in, twit, and breathe out, twoo. Looks directly at Betsy and says,
"I'm throwing a party for all my friends to say goodbye before they hibernate."
And Hugh, let's go back into our hedgehog pose, taking our head down to the floor and lifting our spikes up behind our back. Hugh stands in front of Betsy, feeling brave, and says, "Would you like to come to the party?" Betsy jumps in the air, coming onto your tiptoes, crouching down after throwing into a big jump because she's so excited. 1, 2, 3, jump.
"Yes, I'd love to,"
says Betsy. And she walks off with her friends. Now let's come to lying on our backs. Taking our feet slightly apart and our hands by our sides. How lovely. Betsy isn't lonely anymore. It's not bad that she couldn't hear. Her friends just needed to know the golden rules for speaking to her. Speak clearly, don't mumble. Look directly at the person you're speaking to. And make sure they can see your lips. Don't cover your mouth. Try to remember these rules when you're speaking to someone, when you're speaking to anyone. But particularly if you're speaking to someone who might find it a bit tricky to hear you. Now give your fingers a wiggle and your toes a wiggle. Lift up your knees and give them a hug. Roll onto your side and push yourselves onto your bottoms with your legs crossed, bringing your hands to your heart. And after 3, we'll say our yoga goodbye, namaste. 1, 2, 3. Namaste. Thank you for joining me at Little Diamond Yoga Stories today. See you again soon. Bye.